Yeah, hello everybody. This is Truth Be Told. This is Dr. Walter Aka. So this is really an impromptu discussion. Dr. Akmal and I were kind of having a conversation just offline, and I just thought that this would be a good discussion to have because you just came back from a conference.
Yep.
It's a leadership conference, but you basically said something that kind of interests me. You basically were saying that this leadership conference wasn't what you expected in the sense that they talked about how to get out of insurance, right? And I mean, most people don't realize this, but insurance is, if you haven't heard our podcast, insurance is like the devil to us. We all hate it. We all can't stand it. But patients love it and they want it. So then you're trying to figure out how to balance it out where you take some of the insurances and you don't and go forth but to me, I'm just like insurance is good. Insurance, any insurance is has its good points and its bad points, right? The funny thing to me is whenever it's time for the insurance companies to pay out is when they don't want to deal with you at all, but they'll collect your money all year long. When it's time for them to pay out is when everybody has to have the headache. And dentistry is no different. You know what I mean? Like insurance is probably the hardest thing to deal with. It's not the dentistry, it's not the people, it's insurance. Whenever like you go, okay, well, I just did a crown on you. Now let me go to your insurance and say, pay up. Now the insurance is like, well, did you take their blood before you did the crown? Did you name their second child before you did the crown? Like, they do all these ridiculous things just so they don't have to pay you.
Well, there's like, for example, like I think amongst it, like you're making it and very good joke, good joke. But like one new thing that just came up, right, is now all of a sudden we send all these claims like for scaling root planning. Now they're like, oh, you didn't tell us exactly how long it took you to do the scaling. So we're denying the claim. And we're like, wait, what? I got to put in my notes, you got to write, hey, it's got to take this many minutes. Then there was insurance that came back, be like, well, you didn't take any pictures. And I'm like, okay. So I started taking more
Yeah,
pictures, like
intraoral pictures.
pictures and just like a full mouth series. And there's an actual insurance code called D0350, I forget what it was, but it's basically for all intraoral pictures. So I took that, sent it to them, and they're like, oh yeah, we don't cover that. So they're not going to cover the pictures, but they need the pictures before they pay. So in all kinds of things, and beyond that, like at the conference that we were at, one of the things that they point out was that now, before it was like one out of every 100 claims, some guy would review and try to figure out how to reject it. Now what they're doing is AI. They'll just put everything into AI and be like, if it's not this, this, and this, and now every single claim they're gonna run through whatever metrics they have just to deny your claim. And when they deny your claim, they'll say it was an inappropriate procedure, or it'll be like something like it's not something our what are they called? Our consultants who are like 75-year-old dudes, retired dentists who just need some extra money and they're like, we'll do whatever you want us to do. And they'll be like, yeah, we're denying the claim. And then when I ask like, yo, was this dentist doctor that you said, was this a specialist like me? He's like, oh no, he's a general dentist. I'm like, you're having a general dentist judge the things that a specialist does? Like, are you out of your goddamn mind? And they're like, well, we can't really go much into this. Like, this is just a contract. So in every aspect, insurance is out to like cause problems between patients and
Right.
doctors.
Right. And there are times where insurance will actually say, "Hey, your doctor, we want to help you, but your dentist is being difficult, or your doctor is not wanting to, do this code versus this." And they don't realize a lot of patients don't realize that when they're like, "Oh, I want a tooth colored filling," the insurance is like, "No, we only cover like the silver filling," and most people don't want silver fillings in certain areas where people can see. Right. But the insurance will tell the patient, well, we were going to cover the filling, but your doctor said no, they did this special thing when they shouldn't have. And they try to make us look like the bad guys. And they do this all the time.
And I think that's where it becomes much more difficult, right, between doctor-patient relationship.
Right.
Because now you become, because of the insurance, you can't do anything with it all. And now the patients become more adversarial towards you.
Mhm.
And they're like, well, you're an asshole. And then you're like, no, no, your insurance is an asshole. And they're like,
Right.
no, my insurance is this amazing company. And they're telling me I don't have to pay anything. And you're telling me I have to pay stuff. And then you're like,
Right.
this is the cost. And so part of the whole thing that's just the psychological bullshit you got to deal with having to deal with insurance. But then there's a much bigger portion that comes into play, which is the cost of treatment,
Okay.
which is, hey, I gotta spend money on this material, this material, this material, this material. I have to buy this equipment to do this procedure. That has a
Right.
cost associated with it.
Right.
If the amount of money that they're paying me back is so low
Hmm.
that now I'm losing money just doing this procedure,
Right.
now what are the doctors supposed to do? Not do the procedure, do the
Right.
procedure, lose money? Or like what happens with a lot of corporate dentistry, right? Is like, let's buy the cheapest, crappiest material from China or like, whatever. I don't mean to disparage just China. There's tons of other nations that also make crappy materials. Because the ADA, not the ADA, the FDA doesn't care
Right.
that this implant, for example, doesn't have A, B, C, D, E, or F factors that make
Hmm.
it much better. They're just
Hmm.
like, is it made out of titanium? Yes, okay, it's good enough.
That's it.
Like yourself and myself, we both know that amongst all, there's like what, absolutely over 100 different implant companies. And we also know there's some implants that work way better than others. And guess what? They're way more expensive because those
Right.
implants put more into it.
Right.
So then it becomes a whole point of like, as a doctor, do you use poor products just to satisfy the insurance companies? And in turn, you're doing bad work for your patients. It's like you hear all the time from patients being, well, I can get it for so much cheaper in like El Salvador, or I can go to Turkey. And I'm like, yeah. And we've both seen work from these countries. There's a reason they can do it for so cheap because it's great for like a year or two,
Right.
and then everything goes to hell because they're
So,
not.
okay, so let me try to make sure that people understand this. If somebody's willing to do something for cheaper, it's because they're getting cheaper product. Is that what you're saying?
I think in general, it doesn't make sense. Like from a
Right.
business perspective, if I'm charging like let's say $10 for filling, no one does. It's just easier for numbers, right?
Yeah.
$10 for filling, and my materials, just the materials are $9, right? And that's not even including our overhead for how much it costs to run the business, like rent.
Right.
Says, and now I'm going above 10. Now I have to like, I'm losing money just to do the filling.
Right.
Only way I do is the material cost is the only thing I can control. I can't control the rent. Or the other thing I do, guess what? If a filling takes me like, let's say 30 minutes to do, well, because I'm
You're
making
doing it in
so little
5.
money, I'm doing it in 5. And guess what? I'm there, you may not do as good. You probably won't, right?
You won't do good
So
work.
when you go in and you have like a dog comes in for 2 minutes, walks out, someone else, and you're just moving. Like, how good can you be?
Well, here's a discussion. Some people may say, "Well, I'm just really fast at doing crowns, or I'm really fast at doing fillings." What about that argument?
And
It's
I
not
agree
poor
with that.
quality. It's
I
I'm fast at doing this.
And I think there is a percentage of people who are, right? Like try writing something down, right? Like I've tried, like whenever I write, I used to be very good at cursive. And then because I became a doctor, now I have to write an endless amount of notes, all this stuff. So now I have to write fast. And the faster I write, guess what?
The
I'm not as
sloppier
good
your
at it.
hand, yeah, the
Right.
sloppier your handwriting is.
I still finish the sentence. The sentence is written down, right? Does it look as good as the one that I did when I had free time? Now, are there certain
That's
people who
yeah,
are so absolutely amazing who can do it? Don't disagree with that. Yes, there's
right,
definitely some doctors who are just like
right,
this, right? But as a patient, I think one thing you have to kind of think about is like, what percentage of the human population is amazing? Like,
right.
let's be serious. Most of us are jack shit.
Yeah,
We're just
okay,
like not just doctors, human beings in general. Like most people,
right,
average, like the 5-10% is always going to be the 5-10%. And guess what? If you're like that good, why would you charge such cheap prices? Like it doesn't make any sense when you actually run through a business aspect. So like, is it possible? Yes. And are these doctors who are absolutely fast and can get stuff done in like 10 minutes? Sure. Would they be
hmm,
working for like, 20% of what a crown costs at another practice? No. If I'm that good, this is America, this is capitalism. If I'm good,
right,
I'm getting paid for what I do.
right,
And so that's kind of part of what this part of the conference that they talked about was that, listen, insurance is not as important as we think insurance is to patients. Like patients want good work done. They just don't understand how to pay for it, right? So the same thing that's been happening in the car industry. Guess what? Cars used to cost $2,000. People could go and buy it for 2,000. Great. Now it's gotten so expensive. It's not like people aren't buying good cars. They've just found different ways how to make it work for themselves,
Well,
right?
but okay, here's another argument then. It's sometimes it's the brand, sometimes it's a name, right? So, for example, I saw this one thing on like I think it was like YouTube or something where a guy broke down it was like a Lamborghini. And he
Mm,
basically showed all the plastic in Lamborghini, even though this car is like worth $250,000. Sometimes the name supersedes the quality. So
true.
do you think that people that go online and they see, oh, this doctor, and they're very like, influential, do you think that it's more the name that they're paying for, or do you think it's actually the quality that they're paying for?
And I think, like, to your point, that's part of what this big conference was about.
Okay.
They're like, if you're good, let everyone know you're good. Stop being humble. Like, as doctors, one of our biggest thing is we're just like, hey, I'm just, if the doctor's good, it's all cool, everything is nice. And instead, if you do great work, be proud of the great work you do. Let people know you do great work.
Right.
And once people see that, right, then you present it. Now in the concept Ferrari, yes, are there plastic parts that break down all over the place? Yes, but that engine is a powerhouse, right? The main aspect of a Ferrari is a powerhouse. Like a
Okay.
Honda is not going to compare to that, right? They may have small things here and there, and everyone knows going into it for that aspect that those are the crappy parts of Ferrari. If I want to go to this doctor who does the most amazing dentistry, the crappy part is I gotta pay for it,
So
right?
basically, you influencing you getting your name out there and having like a following is beneficial because then you can actually charge more.
So if you get, so for example, what was it? Last like
Let me
so
let me let me put it this way. I see a lot of stuff from my point of view as a dentist, right? I'm gonna say this, and people may think, "Oh, you're hating or whatever," but it's not the case. I don't have the time nor the energy to hate on anybody. I don't care enough to. But when people send me, no, I don't. I really, you know me, I really don't. If I hate you, I tell you straight to your face. I don't have time to go into anybody's. I don't have time to go to anybody's like
you know
messages
me
and write
15 times.
anonymous crap. I don't have the issue. I don't have the time for that. But what I'm getting at is I see a lot of dentists who are influencers who are very, that just don't do good work at all.
Hmm.
But everybody's really big on, hiring these marketing companies or, putting all their work online. And I'm like, this is not good work. But to a normal person, it looks good because, oh, wow, that person had really horrible teeth and now they have really white teeth. But I'm looking and going, that doesn't even look real.
Hmm.
Right. And then there are other doctors that I look and I'm like, nah, this guy is gifted. You can tell it looks real. Like and a veneer, which is really big now, right? I mean, to the point where they have veneer techs, people that are
Right.
not dentists doing veneers. And when I look at a veneer, I look at it and go, that I can't tell which is a real tooth and which is a veneer or a crown. That's how it's supposed to look. You're not supposed to come out of it looking like you took your toilet and literally brush the same color onto your teeth. Tell me if I'm wrong,
So here's where you're wrong on that,
please.
is that you understand what natural looks like. Have you been
Right,
have you been to LA? Have you been to I just came back from Fort Lauderdale, okay?
right,
I
right,
went to Miami. I drove to Miami, came back, and I
for
was like,
sure.
holy snap, everything was the most amazing, like the women, the men, everyone's chiseled. That's not natural.
Right. No,
But
I get that. What I'm saying in dentistry.
that's the point that I'm trying to convey, right? What doctors think is amazing, especially when you move towards cosmetics,
Right.
is not what people want, right?
Mm,
When you talk about that toilet bowl, I was for the longest time, I'd talk to patients, I'm like, do this not look natural. You're like
right,
55 years old. You're supposed to have a little bit of yellow. That's what makes you look natural. They
right.
don't care. So when it comes to cosmetics aspect, it doesn't, you have to give patients what they want, not what you want. And so to your point, when you said that,
Okay.
hey, I see stuff that's crappy, question is the patient, when he took that picture and he gave that testimonial, I love these.
They meant it.
They meant it because they do love the way it looks.
Right.
You are like a 50-year-old should not have pearly white teeth. It doesn't make any sense, right? But from this,
Right.
same as like a woman get like, I don't want to say it, with women with like quadruple D breasts or like BBLs or whatever it exists, right? any doctor is like, that's insane. That's going to cause problems. But when you move into plastics, when you go into cosmetics,
It's what they want.
it's a whole different thing.
Okay, well, so then should we start really teaching instead of teaching dentists like how to be better dentists, should we start teaching them how to be better influencers?
I think like there's always going to be like in any gambit, like once medicine got commercialized, as it did so America has made medicine commercialized.
Right.
So once it becomes commercialized, now we don't have an option as to how do we contend with that anymore.
So you're saying that we should, because that's, I mean, that's pretty much what your conference was, right? It was leadership, but there was a lot of time spent on how to be an influencer.
So a lot of it was about marketing yourself. The reason
Okay. Yeah, I'm calling it an influencer, you're calling marketing. It's semantics, right?
it may be semantics, yeah.
Right.
And to an extent it is, right? Because it's no longer about you just doing good work and a
Mm,
community, you just talk to each other and you know these guys are and you can talk to each other and you know, hey, yo, you're listen, then why don't you come over? I'm gonna teach you a little bit better about how to do this filling better or how to do this surgery. Like because before it was a colleagues aspect. Now with
right.
the amount of adversity that's come in, it's come to a point where unfortunately doctors are not different than Coca-Cola and Pepsi anymore. Like it's just
Well,
like
well, wait a minute, wait a minute. Doctors are not different than Coca-Cola and Pepsi, meaning what?
in as far as Coke may actually be better than every other thing, but Pepsi can push really hard and make themselves better than Coke. And then Coke also has to push just as hard to reprove themselves that they're better. So the point I'm trying to convey is like
Yeah.
after if there's all these, and I don't think there's tons of doctors. I think there's a few doctors out there. I think most of the stuff that we see is on Facebook amongst each thing. Like I think like the big influencer, well, let me reset that. I don't know what's going on in influence. That was part of my problem was like I did not want to do any influencers. I was like, listen, I'll put some Google ads saying that, hey, I can do this, I can do that. That's the extent of what I'm doing.
Right.
Like, it's not my job to go out there convince you that my crown or my veneer is better than that person's veneer or anything like
But
that.
now you're saying that you should do that. The world's changed.
The world has changed because medicine became commercialized because of our lawmakers. They allowed like it started off slow, right? Now, like with like I've talked to a friend of mine, and she's like, I'm so pissed off at my gynecologist because like I wanted this birth control and he wouldn't give it to me, right? She's angry because she saw a commercial that told her that this was the best thing, it'll make her feel great and no problems. The doctor was like, no, 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 this doesn't work with you, right? And because he told her that, she decided to leave that her physician to find a new physician that would do what she wanted, right? Now, if
Right.
he is doing what he does, and there's other like let's say poor like less ethical doctors who are like, hey, you want this? Sure, we'll just give it to you. Just be my patient, right? Now, the good doctor, if he doesn't come back with the same emphasis and coming out doing just as be like, yo, this is what's going on. You need
Right.
good doctors to counter or counteract these other people who are marketing this purely out of from a money making aspect. If you don't,
Right.
and that's one of the things that occurs with um, complete freedom of speech, is that the good generally eventually will come out eventually, right? It may take a while or so, but if only the poor players are the only people in that market, then patients don't know. But the market exists and it's going to exist. There's nothing coming up front, any laws that are coming up saying that no more advertisement of medicine. It's not going to happen, or I don't see it coming. So then the good doctors have no choice but to move into that same marketing aspect and to let people know this is why I'm better than other people. This is why my treatment is better.
Hmm.
And that's the part that for me was a tough thing. Like even the whole time I was sitting there, I'm like, this is bullshit. Because like I don't want to sell my stuff. I'm good at what I do. I'm way better than the most of the doctors around me. I've seen their work. As a specialist, I see the work, especially with implants. I see tons of people around me who are doing really crappy implants. Guess what? They're on every Google ad that comes up on my Instagram feed. I see them coming up and they do poor implants, right? I do significantly better implants than them. Like my
Okay.
some of their work. I'm like, what the hell? But guess what? The only people that the population around me or the patients are seeing is that dude.
Because he's the influencer. He's the one that
He's the
gets
one.
those eyeballs.
Not only that, the people who are better at it aren't on there, especially specialists. They're like, why should I have to market? I'm a specialist. There's an ego aspect that kicks in also.
Okay.
So
Okay.
because the people who are better at who are, let's say, who know that there's poor stuff going on there, and they're just like, whatever, I'm not going to get involved in that. What ends up happening is patients get hurt because the people who are the poor players in the game, they don't care. They're going to push as hard as they want because
Right.
America, capitalism, end goal is money. End goal is not patient care. And the
Right.
people who are patient care focused, they don't want to do that. But guess what? The patients just won't come to them because they don't know they're there. So now part of it is like being a marketer, being in the influencer, you don't have a choice anymore. It's just like you don't have a choice to not have a website. You don't have a choice
Right.
not.
Right. Right.
You have to do it. This is just the next iteration of that same concept from my perspective, anyways. I hate it because that's more money I gotta spend that I don't want.
Right, right. I feel like it's not just money that you have to spend, it's also time. Because in order to get those stuff out there, like it takes a lot of time. You have to hire somebody to do it, and then you have to record yourself and do all the stuff that goes into it, right? And then be consistent with it. Consistency is something I realize even with this podcast. Whenever we take like a little break, my God, I hear from everybody. When is the next episode? I'm like, all right, calm down. Like, I have other stuff I have to do. This was supposed to be just kind of like a fun thing for me to do. And so consistency is something that I've realized that people are very finicky. If they don't see your work or don't see you consistently, they forget all about you. So how can somebody run a business and also be consistent with this? Be a consistent influencer.
How can people have lives and be as consistent on social media, 20, 30-year-olds as they are? Not having to do the business, but just their own life. Every day, like picture. Hey, like on my flight back, or like when I was there, one of my assistants, she's apparently an influencer. I had no clue. And I was like,
How do you not know that you're around famous people?
I don't know what famous influencer. She has like 100,000 followers. And she's
That's
like,
a lot.
it's like, wait, you have what? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, wait, so what kind of content do you do? She's like, nothing. I just walk around and record myself. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I had no idea. And then like this whole weekend when I was hanging out with her when we were at the conference,
Yeah.
like a few minutes, I just see her with her phone up. And I'm like, are you recording again? She's like, yeah, I'm live. I'm like, but you're not saying anything. You just have your phone up and you're just like walking around. She's like, yeah, that's all I do. And people love it. And the thing is, like, that's the part about like, and that's what they were trying to get us to understand. Be like, dude, every few minutes, because in my mind, I'm like, it has to be high production. I have to come up with a full script
Right, right.
out, and through right lighting. And they're like, no, just like when you're walking. Hey guys, Dr. Akmal again, just letting you know, shit dentists exist. I'm better than them. Come check out my website. This is the reason why it is. Boom. Right? And
Got you.
like, it sounds easy, but like, and this is something I learned about like 3-4 months ago. I put up one Instagram reel, right? And since then, I just didn't do it because I'm like, I don't wanna. That's the whole
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
I don't wanna do it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm awesome. I should just get shit without having to work for it. And that's the part that they were kind of pushing. Like one of the guys, he actually put a really strong thing. It's like, listen, it's what you are is you guys are standing in the railroad tracks. There's a train coming full speed at you. And that's the social media marketing aspect. You all
Okay.
are old, you're in your 40s.
Right.
You don't, and the thing is with us, we don't want to, and it's not just us. Like when we were in our, like, no, when we were like, I still remember when I was 9, 10, 12 year old, I thought I was so awesome because I knew how to record my VCR.
Right.
I don't know if young people even know what that is,
No,
but
you're right. Yeah, yeah.
I
They
was like,
probably
my
don't
dad,
have to deal with
yeah.
that.
And I was like, my dad's dumb. He can't figure out these 4 buttons. It's not that he just didn't want to. He was a
Right.
doctor. You think he couldn't figure out how to work a VCR? He's like, I don't have time for it.
That's it.
VCRs were not important to his
Every day.
life, or to his work, to his how he earned money, right? Social media is now, it is incredibly important, right? Same as you got to get an iTero. You don't have a choice. You got to get a CBCT. You don't have a choice. We placed implants for years without any CBCTs.
Right.
Now
Right.
you don't have a choice, right? Social media is that similar concept. They're like, you can just stand in front of the train and have it run you over. You can just walk off the track and let the train go right by. Or as it's going, you grab and you jump on and
Hmm.
you find the conductor and like start learning how does this train run. Because that
So
train,
would you recommend most doctors really keep a very high social media profile just to make sure if you,
like I don't do it. Like I make money, right?
no, but
But
I'm saying, is that what you're recommending based on this lecture that you went to?
that's what I felt. The way
Okay.
how, and like of course, like there were 5 marketing companies there also that were
Of
pushing this,
course.
right? Um, Now we have friend, like both of us, we have friend, Paradonis in Dallas, great dude, and he's getting patients coming in from multiple different states, flying in just to have treatment done by him, right?
Right.
Most of us do not have patients flying in from outside.
Well, but with him though, with him, he focused more on the Google aspect of it. He didn't focus on like social media stuff because if you actually follow the social media, he's not talking about dentistry most of the time. It's like more
He's pushing YouTube, right? On
right. That's what I'm saying. He
stuff
recorded
that,
stuff on YouTube
right.
for his for Google. So when patients go onto his website or patients look up something, they see his YouTube videos, right? But I'm talking about like Instagram. He's really not on there for dentistry.
But so YouTube, Instagram, Facebook,
Oh,
they're
so
all,
you're saying it doesn't really matter.
it doesn't
Okay,
matter. You
got
need,
you.
my point is you need to be visible online,
I
whichever.
see what you're saying.
Or we can, and there's discussions about what's better. Since Facebook used to be great with ads, now Facebook is bullshit. You're getting very poor return on that. Everyone's pushing to Google. Google just hiked up their prices like nobody's business. So now you got to
Right.
figure out. So it's like marketing, which was never a part of medicine, is a part of medicine now. Whether it's like even orthopedic surgeons, you see their ads all the time. You see ads by like there's this fertility clinic like down the a few blocks away. I see their ads on my thing. Hey, you can't get pregnant, 50-year-old? Don't worry, come to us. Give us $50,000 and we'll get you pregnant. Right? Now, should doctors be doing that? No. But because it's in the open now, now you have to either decide, do you want to be the one who's fighting against the train or are you going to jump on the train?
So are you saying, so do you think that what's better, do you think? Do you think trying to basically get your online presence higher is better than, you know how people used to send like flyers through the mail? Like, do you think flyers through the mail even works anymore?
It's a cost benefit aspect. Like for
No,
Google,
the answer is I'm asking you a question. Like, do you think that flyers through the mail works
no.
based on what you went to? Okay, that's
I,
what I want to know.
I spend thousands of dollars on flyers, and I know myself as soon as like because like we get so much crap in our as soon as
Right,
I'm just like doom doom doom
that's
doom.
it. Yeah,
That's so flyers through the mail, and there's still some people who are like, oh, I get it. Yeah, they live in like little tiny towns where there's a whole bunch of older people, and they look at flyers.
right.
We live in major, and so a lot of this that I'm talking about is major metro issues. Right?
Okay.
If you're living in DC where I'm at, if you're living in Dallas, if you're living in like Chicago, New York City, you can't just hang up a shingle and be like, I'm here, come get me, because the competition is too high, right?
So if you're in the rural, I mean, like I have a, we actually, we both know the same doctor, Kyle Dumpert. He lives in the country. He pretty
Yeah,
much says that all the time. And he barely does any advertisement for patients because they know him.
exactly.
Right. And so then really everything you're talking about when it comes to social media and everything seems to be more related to, like you said, the city being in a very populated area.
Right. It's where the majority of the populations in every country live, right? Majority of the
Right.
population is in the major metro centers, and that's where everything.
But that
So,
may not be the smartest place for you to build your practice.
you know,
Right.
that's kind of the thing I was thinking about also, right? It's like I'm thinking about like start a family, doing all that, and I'm like, dude, like if I'm gonna have to take away significant amount of my time from my practice for my family,
Hmm.
you see where I even want to be anymore.
Right.
Really expensive to do work. I went to this um a denture workshop right down in Virginia Beach, and I
Hmm.
met this dude, right? Another guy who grew up in Arlington, which is like 10 minutes outside DC, right?
Hmm.
And he him and his wife both, went to NYU, like
Hmm.
city folk, right? They lived in a town in Virginia where I was like, I've never heard of that. And they're like, I'm like, I even typed it into my thing. It didn't come up. He's like, no, no, you have to zoom in, keep zooming in. There it is. You see that? What, like a
Yeah.
two traffic light town.
Right.
Why are you working over there? And he told me how much he was earning, how much he was making in his practice. And I was like, wait, what? And he's a general dentist. I'm a
Yeah.
special. Like, you make more than me. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, wait, how much are you spending on advertising? He's like, I've never spent any money on advertising.
That's it.
Right. So, and that's the thing medicine's always been known for is like, you got to go outside. A lot of the stuff, I think, not just between medicine, but in general with people talking about it, how do we do this? How do we do that? Like, whether it's, you know, getting jobs, finding like going up in your career, even finding relationships. The
Right.
problems are in the major metro cities because
That's
competition
it. Yeah.
is so huge. You want to live in like Fargo, North Dakota, you'll find a wife. You'll
Right.
you'll find a job.
Right.
It's not hard.
Right.
You live in New York City, you're gonna have to work hard. And so
That's it.
most of the people who are online, they want to be in major metros. And so how you deal with major metro is going to be different than how you deal with rural areas.
So most of the people that are influencers have a lot of followers are basically saying, "Hey, I have to compete."
Yeah,
That's
it's
basically what it comes down to. Okay. Well, let's leave it here because again, I just want to keep it very simple. This was kind of us like talking about this, but let's get back on here and let's talk about next time. Let's talk about just basically what you're seeing when it comes to how long specialists how long specialists do you think will last, because a lot of like what you did, right, where you basically bought a general dentist practice and you're like, look, I'm tired of working long days and so forth, and my basically cutting back and the whole exit plan,
yeah,
right? The whole exit plan is something that's real. I know somebody online now that's basically pushing, saying that she's retired and is pushing for people to find how to exit out of dentistry. So
yeah,
let's talk about that next time, man. All right.
absolutely, man.
All right, boss. Thank you for listening to this episode of Truth Be Told. The opinions on this episode are just that, our opinions. Please consult your dental professional before taking any action with your dental health. If you have any questions about anything you heard on this episode, please contact us at Real Dentist with an S. That's REAL Dentist with an S at gmail.com. We would be very happy to return any message that we receive because we love the communication that we have with our listeners.